time, y'all. I'm sure you've heard people talk about prepping and being prepared and buying and stocking and storing up. Y'all, it is imperative and important that you do these things. Someone will say, well, why should we? They've been talking this and nothing really happened. Well, I'm here to tell you stuff has been happening and it will continue to happen. Continue to happen. But what end of the spectrum do you want to be on? Do you want to be able to say, during the time that these things were happening and we were told to be prepared, that you were preparing? Or will you be those that will sit behind and say, I'm not going to do anything because that doesn't concern me? Understand, Yahuwah does have us. He does. And I believe with all my heart, he will never let anything happen to us. And that's why he told us to prepare. It is imperative that you prepare. No, this is not the main topic, but I do want to slide this in while I have your attention, because y'all, many times people throw caution to the wind without realizing that for every day you throw caution to the wind, that is a day, that is a time, that is a moment that you are missing out on getting the things that you need to make sure that your livelihood is taken care of. That's so important. Y'all, it is not just being fabricated. There is a shortage of food. There's a shortage of things. And the thing of it is that when there is just a little bit left, now the prices on it is going up. Now, many times people say, well, I really haven't noticed it. Well, if you haven't noticed it, I have to question, when you go shopping, do you just throw stuff in your buggy and just pay for it and don't care about what the prices were versus what they are now? Right. Now, I like to go to Whole Foods, and there was these organic natural licorice or Twizzlers that I would get, red vine. That's what they call red vine. Y'all, they were $1.99. Now they're $2.39 now. They've taken them up to $2.39. Yo, somebody would say, well, that's candy. No, but you have to understand something. Anytime there is inflation is involved, inflation involves everything that concerns you and concerns me, and buying and establishing as a consumer. That's right. It is going to affect us one way or the other. And please do not let yourselves get comfortable just because the gas prices may have dropped 10 cents or 15 cents. Because whenever that happens, they're just setting us up for the major hike. So I would say this: store up on your gas and get your oils and get those things now while you can, y'all, because there's coming a time where it may not even be affordable, or it may not even be available. With the fighting going on with Russia and the Ukrainians, I found out that they supply us with the majority of the oil we get. Sunflower oil, any of your vegetable oils, that's what we get. That's why when you go to some stores don't have it on the shelves, because they just don't have it, because they've run out of it. And they're not going to get any more because of the fighting. So just to put that out there, y'all, just to help us understand the time that we're in. I'm sure many of you already know, but just to reiterate it and to encourage you to please get your house in order. Stock up your stuff. Don't be one of those that wait till the last minute. Now you have to go around what we call panhandling. When you see people at the stores and they don't have nothing, and they're asking people to give them stuff, and people treat them so bad and they tell them, no, get away from me, or what have you. Now, I'm going to say this, and it may make some people angry, and then you may come to understand what I'm talking about. Now, each one of us have an ability to do something. Each one of us should be motivated by something in our lives to make us say, no, I'm going to do better. No matter what it takes, within reason, I'm going to do better with my life. And you build upon that. I don't care what it is: selling cans, selling scrap metal, which I know now in order to sell scrap metal, you have to have a driver's license, and then you got to go through all this where they do a background check. Well, if you legitimate, then that shouldn't bother you. Right. You get your stuff and you make some money, and guess what? You are no longer in a position to be without. So these are things that we must look at. And I have something coming up really in the near future called BIM. Broke is my motivation. So look at that soon, because I'm going to be talking about what is my motivation, what has motivated me to do the things that I do outside of Facebook. Are y'all hearing me? But it is called BIM. Broke is my motivation. So check me out once we get it on there. I'll make sure I put it up there so you can listen, you can watch, so that perhaps in this I can motivate you, or share something with you that will motivate you to do something about your current situation. Because guess what? Ain't nobody got time for broke pockets. Right. Ain't nobody got time for empty pockets. So it's important that we understand that. Now, with that being said, Once again, as you listen to what is going to be said, let this motivate you truly to get in a hurry about getting your stuff together, about stocking up on food, about stocking up on general merchandise like medical supplies within that what you can get, just getting more than enough so that you can be sure that you and your family are taken care of in this crisis that we are going through. And it is so. And it is so. All right. Now to the word. What are we talking about, Tehelem? We are talking about on this Sabbath rest. The prophet Joel confirms the end is with the Islamists. Last week we talked about Yasharal's prophet cast their judgments on the Islamic nations. And Yoel is one of the prophets that we're going to look at what he said, and we're going to put the word on it. There are three things that I constantly say that we need if you're going to have a good argument, if you're going to debate, which I don't believe in debating, but there are three things that are very important that you have: evidence, proof, and credible witnesses. When you can have these three, 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, this is what will give you the win. When you can have these things established, because then you will have the information to substantiate and to back you up with what your claim is. Now, I know many times people will say, well, Islam is not it, it's Rome and it's this, but you have to understand geographically they don't match, economically they do not meet the criteria. So it's important that we dig a little further in order to see who these people are. And I'm inclined to believe with all my heart that it is the Islamic nation, because you must remember, these are our cousins. These are our cousins. These are Abraham's children as well. And you got to understand, the true fight is with us because of our identity and our inheritance. That's what you must understand. Somebody will say, well, that's kind of being a little arrogant. No, that's not being arrogant. That's being truthful. This is why you have all this stuff going on in the world, because of two people: the chosen people and those that believe they are supposed to be the chosen people.
That's right.
The Islamic or the Arabs. That is the most important thing for us to recognize and understand. Now, let's go into the scripture where it says, and let's go in Yoel chapter 2, verse 1. When you have it said, that is so.
And it is so.
All right. Let's read that, please. Verse 1.
And it is so. Yoel chapter 2, verses 1 through 7.
Just verse 1. Just verse 1.
Blow the trumpet in Zion. Sound the alarm on my Kodesh hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of Yahuwah is coming. It is close at hand. And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Now, let's see. Let's read verse 2. This is a semicolon there. What is in yours? Is it a colon, period, comma? What's there?
A dash.
Okay, let's read verse 2, because 2 goes with it as well.
Verse 2. It is close at hand, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness. Like dawn spreading across the mountains, a large and mighty army comes, such as never was of old, nor ever will be in ages to come. And it is so.
And it is so. All right, we're going to look at the first part of that verse in that chapter 2, verse 1. It says, blow you the shofar in Tyson, and sound an alarm in my set apart mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of Yahuwah comes, for it is near at hand. Let's look at that. Now, why blow the trumpet in Zion and sound the alarm in my Kadesh mountain? It is important that we understand the importance of the shofar being blown. Zion is all the community of believers in the world. His excellency, his government on earth, and his Kadesh mountain is Jerusalem, the place of his habitation in Yahshua, plus the one Kahal or Kadesh in the world. The day of Yahuwah is a feast yom and a high holy or Kadesh Sabbath rest. So it's important that we understand why he said the day of Abba Yahuwah. Once again, I'm going to read that footnote. Why blow the trumpet in Zion and sound the alarm in my Kadesh mountain? Zion is all the community of believers in the world. His excellency, his government on earth, and his Kadesh mountain is Jerusalem. The place of his habitation is in Yasharal, plus the one Kadesh in the world. The day or the Yom of Yahuwah is a feast Yom and a high Kadesh Sabbath Yom. So it's important that we understand the reason this is because it is a high Sabbath or a high Kadesh day. And this is why he said blow or sound the alarm. Anytime you sound the trumpet, is to get what? People's attention. To get people's attention, to focus on that Yom or what is getting ready to take place. So it's important that we understand that. Yahuwah's Kadesh mountain is in Jerusalem, and the sound cry of battle is heard in Yasharal. Yahuwah is going to descend with a shout. This is the time for a showdown with the haters of Yahuwah who pretend submission. Now you got to understand something once again. When you talk to people, even the Islamic people, because that's what we've been talking about, and they are basically our topic. When you talk about them and how they want to pretend to be submissive, but they are not. And y'all, this is where we as a people have to be careful too, because we don't want to be lying through our actions and saying that we are submissive to Abba Yahuwah, but yet we don't do what he say do. So we've got to check ourselves because we don't want to be found in that position to be what? Judged.
That's right.
Let's look at Tehelem 81 and 15, which is Psalms 81 and 15. And it is so. Mm-hmm. 81 and 15.
And it is so.
All right, read that for me.
And it reads 81 and 15. The haters of Yahuwah should have submitted themselves unto him, but the time should have endured forever.
And it is
And
so.
it is so.
And it is so.
Mhm. A hint to the Islamic nations who pretend submission to power, but are haters of Yahuwah. They hate Yahuwah because they hate his people. And y'all, we can't pretend and act like, well, you know, these people are okay. You know, they understand who we are. Yeah, but you got to understand, anytime someone would say they know who we are, you have to understand what is their motive.
Right.
What is their motive to admit that we are the children of Yahshua? You got to check the motive and check to see what is the reasoning. Someone will say, but aren't they supposed to? Yes, but when anytime you have the Islamic nation or people saying that we are the true people, you better understand their acknowledgement is they're acknowledging us because number one, they hate us. And someone would say, well, you don't know, I have Muslim friends and they don't hate me. Well, you better check because they ain't true Muslims. They're just carrying a name. Are y'all following me? But the true Muslims, the Islamic nation, hate us. And they hate us once again because of identity. Identity. That's the whole fight between them with us, is we are the chosen and they are not. And it's about land mass, about land. Are y'all hearing me? All right. Now, although the Muslims pretend submission to Yahuwah, they actually submit to Allah, a foreign god. They hate Yahuwah by definition because they hate his chosen people. The word for submission in Arabic is Islam and correctly depicts these people. So it's important that we understand why they hate us the way they do. Right. And y'all, it's important that we don't be overtaken by their smooth words and, you know, well, they and their gestures, and they say, oh, these people do love you. These people love everybody. Y'all don't give me that. And don't try to separate them and say, well, it's just the jihadists or ISIS. They're all Muslim. Now, if they were not all a part of one another, why is it that they never, ever, never reject them or disown them when they know the stuff that they do. There was just a beheading of 80, I believe, men. And nobody came and spoke out from the Islamic nation. Watch this. Not even the minister Farrakhan spoke out against it. Nobody spoke out against these beheadings. Why? Because you must understand, they know who they are.
That's right.
And they don't have a problem with executing judgment in the manner that they believe. Why? Because they believe wholeheartedly in the Quran and the Hadith, which are the sayings of Muhammad. So y'all, you got to understand, this is not a hate speech. This is not speaking against them ill. It is just bringing forth truth. Bringing forth the truth that needs to be known and needs to be told about these people. This is family. But we'll go all around the world and find everybody else to try to put in that place instead of looking right there in front of us saying, no, wait. The things that they have done against us as a people. Y'all, some of these things were taken out of history so that we will continue to be blind and ignorant concerning their hatred towards us. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right, let's look at Yoel chapter 2, verse 2.
Yoel chapter 2, verse 2. And it is so.
And it is so.
And
It is so.
Yoel chapter 2, verse 2 reads, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like the morning clouds spread over the mountains. A people many and strong, the like of whom has never been, nor shall there ever be again after them to the years of many generations. And it is so.
And it is so. This is the big battle. And guess what? Yahuwah will raise up his army in response to the northern army. This is the response to the Islamic jihad. To the Islamic jihad. Yoel 1:6 says, for a nation has come up against my land, strong and without number. His teeth are the teeth of a lion, and he has the fangs of a fierce lion. Now, once again, y'all, when I used to read this, you would always think, well, that's just an analogy. It is, but it is to a group of people. It depicts the nature of this people. And anytime you see lions, there was this movie called Safari. And y'all, in the movie, it was about some young European people, and it was about a little girl who was from Africa. And her mother was very ill. And so her mother sent all of them, I think it was about 5 of them, 5 of her siblings with her away. And, you know, back in that time and in Africa, they had to travel. They didn't have buses and, excuse me, in the country area. I guess you would call that the country or the desert area to take them. So they had to commute. They had to walk. And so they ended up getting it ended up being hunted by lions, and these lionesses were fierce, y'all, and they hunted these children down. She was the only one that got away. She got a scratch on her arm, but the rest of her siblings were eaten alive. So when you get to talking about fierce, y'all, you got to understand, lions are nobody's friends. They are a fierce and they have no they have no enemies. They have no enemies. And so here it is. They are described as being fierce. They're being fierce. And not only that, look at what else it says. And this is the writings. This is what the writing says. His teeth are the teeth of a lion. Now that tells us right there, it's not talking about a lion. It's talking about a people when it says his. This is a description of a group of people, not just one person. And has fangs of a fierce lion. Can anyone deny that the Arabs are not a strong people? They come marching along, folks, with all the Islamic nations against Yasharal to cut her off. But Yahuwah will raise his own army. The depiction of lions has to do with the fact, excuse me, biological Babylonians are part of the army whose symbol is the lion. It is the lion. I looked it up earlier, and Babylonian symbol is a lion. It is a lion. Because it is a lion, this shows us once again. Now, it's not the writing speaking of a lion. Does Rome fit that?
No.
Absolutely not. But Babylonians, this was their symbol, the lion. So we must keep that truly accurate. Now, let's look at Yoel chapter 2, verse 3.
And it is so.
Okay.
Before them fire devours. Behind them a flame blazes. Before them the land is like the Garden of Eden. Behind them a desert waste. Nothing escapes them. And it is so.
And it is so. Make no mistake, these are the saints, or Yasharal, Yahuwah's own army marching for counterattack. Many prophecy writers have a problem with this being an army of believers and come up with excuses that these are not believers. However, the text speaks against them, as I shall prove in a minute. This is what the writer is saying. Now, in Yoel, verse 1 and 5, it says, awake, you drunkards, and weep and wail, all you drinkers of wine. This is talking about Arab oil. Because of the new wine, the Kodesh, the Ruach HaKodesh, and salvation, for it has been out or been cut off from your mouth. In other words, this is being taken away from you.
God.
You have this no more. Now listen at this. The church is asleep. Yahuwah warns them to wake up, the drunkards, and warn the people of the impending disaster on hand. Now you will hear me say or use reference to the church, and someone say, but we are not the church. No, we are not the church. We are not. But you must understand, many of our people are still following up behind Christianity. Therefore, they are the ones that are asleep, and they need to be wakened to the truth and to that what is at hand. You're outside of your identity. You're not even, this is not, once again, Christianity was never created for you for salvation. It was created to keep us as a people underfoot and to keep us docile and to keep us submissive to a people that wanted to maintain over us and make us slaves forever.
Good.
So you have to understand that's not it. Is there salvation for Yahshua or for us as a people? Absolutely. And that salvation can be found in the Torah of Abba Yahuwah through Yahush al-Mashiach. Now you must understand once again, why is he talking to the church? Because once again, I will say it again, many of our people are in Christianity and they don't want to come out of it because they believe that this is the only way to salvation. And it is not our salvation, period. Christianity was created by Constantine, and in actuality, Marcion is the one who wrote everything, and Constantine read it and said, hey, I got an idea. In order for me to keep everybody uniform, to have everybody come under me, under one hub, guess what? I'll just create this. You created it, and we'll just slap Christianity on it. And this is how everybody will be up under me and follow under my rules and regulations. But you have to understand, Marcion got the platform for this from the truth, and that is from the Torah.
God.
He got it from the Torah. He took it and modified it and created it to fit his agenda. So we already had, our people had the Torah. Before it even became in book form, we had it. But guess what our people did? They rejected it. They didn't want it. And I believe, and I'm inclined to believe that Marcion saw it, and because he could read Hebrew, he took it. And he fixed it and changed it so that they could adapt to it. And the people that would hear it would be the ones that would adapt to it and grab it and say, this is the way we want. This is the religion we want. Because this is the salvation that we believe is for us. Please answer the question. How can someone who has put you in slavery, has put you in bondage, turn right around and give you the very thing that's going to free you when they didn't want to release you and let you go and be free? They said you didn't have a soul. So if you didn't have a soul, how can you be saved?
Right.
You have to understand the stuff that they did and continue to do to our people when it comes down to this. It's all to keep our people all confused and all messed up in the brain and even in the emotions, because you're calling on a name to a God that does not exist. Does not exist. Somebody said, well, you don't believe. No, I don't. I believe in Yahuwah, who is the supreme being. He is the most high. And he is the one and only. Everything else is a copy and a counterfeit. Now, y'all have to understand, and Yahush is his son. So y'all, it is imperative that we get a hold of this. And this is why he is talking to the Christians. Wake up. He's talking to our people. Wake up and come up out of that.
God, that's right.
Get out of that. Because the longer you stay in it, the longer you're going to confuse, and the longer you're going to be locked into this way and this mindset.
That's right.
It's important that we understand that. Now, once again, I'm going to say this in Yoel 1:5. Awake, you drunkards, and weep and wail, all you drinkers, wine, Arab oil. Because of the new wine, the Ruach HaKodesh and salvation, for it has been cut off from your mouth. The church is asleep. Yahuwah warns them to wake up the drunkards and warn the people of the impending disaster on hand. Now, someone would say, well, what does that mean? How do we fit ourselves in that? Y'all, everything we do because of modern times. There was a time you didn't use oil for anything. You didn't use that kind of oil. They used whale oil. There was a time they used other kind of oil to do things with. We've gotten so spoiled and so dependent upon gas or upon this type of oil that we feel like we can't do nothing. We can't walk nowhere anymore unless we drive, and we can't go there. Unless we catching the bus, we can't go there. Because this is what we become a lover of. Now you have to understand, somebody said, but you don't know where I live. This is why you need to prepare yourself and do what you need to do, and prepare yourself and get yourself in a position where you don't have to depend upon these things. Are y'all hearing me? People think, well, we can't get here. That's why we try to shop at least 4 times a month. Hear what I'm about to say. We go to the store. We try not to go to the store outside of that, but there are times when you go to the store and you forget things. Like my Ish always says, get a list. And even when you get that list and you go, and it's something you think you might forget, that's why you try to take your time and get what you need to get. And you stock up on stuff so you're not always trying to have having to go to the store. Y'all, because gas is expensive. And yes, we've seen just a little bit, decrease in the price, maybe 10 cents, maybe 15 cents here. But don't get googly eyed over that, because they just do that just to come right back around and hit you harder. That's all it is, y'all. Don't play the game. So it's important that we understand the importance of waking up and recognizing who we really are. Now, Yoel 2, chapter 2, verses 4 and 5. Now, this is where we're getting into the appearance. And y'all, this is important because I know many times our people tend to overlook these things. Many times they tend to say it's just an analogy. Y'all, it is not just an analogy. It is a description and the characteristic of a people. Most of the time when you read in the scriptures, if the Abba does not say that this is the literal thing, it is a description of that people that he is describing.
That's right.
That he is describing to the letter in detail. All right. Let's look at Yoel chapter 2, and let's look at verses 4 and 5.
The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots, on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devours the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. And it is so.
And it is so. Now let's look at that, horsemen and as horsemen. And as horsemen. These are sturdy-looking men described as horses. In other words, they are strong, and it describes them as war horses. I'm sorry. Paul-Rosh. That's what I believe that's how you say that. Paul-Rosh. They are the house. Let me show you. Yes, in array. Set in battle array. They are the house of Joseph and will devour Esau. This is a strong army of believers in Yahshua, in Yahuwah. Now, I know many times when we look at this, you don't ever really see. And sometimes, if you listen to what's going on and you really kind of focus on the negative, you really can't see that as being us. But y'all, that's our people. Abba Yahuwah has an army. Just like when Abba Yahuwah had to get on, who was it? Elisha. And he told him, he said, understand. He said, I got 50, I believe it is, or 100 that have not bowed their knee or kissed Baal. Don't think I don't have no prophets. I don't have people that I can pull on that will serve me and that will do what I bid them to do, just because you don't see it right at this moment. So once again, these are the sturdy looking men described as horses. In other words, they are strong, and it describes them as war horses. Parosh. These are men that are strong and sturdy, and they don't let anything bother them. These are brothers that are focused. And I ain't talking about the ones that's talking all this foolishness. And I don't mean, don't disrespect, but I ain't talking about no brothers from no camp. I'm talking about these are people that Abba Yahuwah, men that Abba Yahuwah has called and chosen for war. Because see, they're not going to have all this people kissing their feet and being foolish. You ain't got to go through all that. If people going to respect you and revere you, they're going to do that. You ain't got to even go through that. They are the house of Joseph and will devour Esau, not the white man. This is a strong army of believers in Yahshua, meaning us as a people. Are y'all following me? That's important for us to understand. It really is, because sometimes, once again, because of all the negative publicity sometimes we get, people can't see that we are strong people and that Abba Yahuwah do have people in places that you may not know. Are y'all following? That's very important for us to understand. This is the unmistakable language of war with the same people mentioned in Revelation for war with their armaments, tanks, guns, and planes. Yet the evangelical world waits for the Pope as the anti-Mashiach. The army that marches for war is Yahuwah's own army versus the northern army. About time we saw a proper response to all the killings, beheadings, and torture exercised by the Islamics. Now, once again, y'all, it is important that we understand that we're not just talking about people and these people don't exist. These people are real. Once again, just last week, I believe it was, or maybe a couple of months ago, I'm going to go back that far, where they talked about the beheadings of about 80, I believe 80. I'm going to start with 30 to 100 men because I'm really not sure. But I do know they were beheaded. And they did. And they said, well, what was the reason? They said they wanted to prove a point. Y'all understand something. These are people that don't fear anybody or anything.
Right.
And this is what they did. Now, this talks about them. These are people of beheadings and torture exercised by the Islamists. This is why when you see them and they have people sitting up there telling them, say, now talk to the camera and tell them this before you die. Who sent you here? Who did this? They torture them, cut their limbs off. You know, this is not TV. This is real. And these people exist. And don't come thinking, well, they're extremists. No, they just want to be good Muslims.
That's right. That's right.
They want to show Muhammad and they want to show Allah that they are in it for the long haul. So we can't sit there, because if you do, you're going to be the one that's going to be end up being hoodwinked. Now, listen, it's important that we understand that Yahuwah has let them run their course and is now ready to show them who he is. Who can stand against him? The Islamist Confederacy is intent on the destruction and overthrow of Yahshua. Yahuwah, the power of Yahshua, will not remain silent. Exodus 15 reminds us that Yahuwah is a man of war. He is a man of war, but put that in its proper context and put it against the proper and right people. Now, somebody will say, what's going to happen to those European people? They're going to be judged too, but not the way the Islamic nation is going to be judged. That's important to understand. All right, let's look at Yoel 2:20.
And it is so.
All right, let's read.
And it reads, 2:20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, and his hinder part toward the utmost sea. and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. And it is so.
And it is so. There are two armies here. One is Yahuwah's personal army, and the other is the northern army of Islamic nations that has come to destroy Yasharal. It's catching up. Yahuwah is returning with his saints who are going to meet him in the air by resurrection from the grave and then descend and fight in Yasharal. Now you can clearly see the arrows in the idea of pre and mid-tribulation raptures. Ain't no such thing as a rapture. Are y'all hearing me? Why is Yahuwah's army fighting on the ground if there was a pre-tribulation rapture? It simply does not exist. Mashiach will come to end the great tribulation and destroy those who cause Yaakov the trouble. It's a resurrection and not a rapture. It's a resurrection and not a rapture. That's important for us to understand. Very important for us to understand. Now listen at this. Revelations 9:2. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. That's why it turned, because of the smoke. Are y'all following me? Mm-hmm. The smoke is unquestionably the symbol of war. This is the battle that was to come and is the biggest in history. It is World War III. It will make World War II look like a tiny war. The Islamist army is 200 million alone, but we are not given the number of Yahuwah's army. Now, I want to stop right there because I want to show you, because I know many people will say, but how is it 200 million? I looked it up, and many say that the 200 million, if you're looking at many quote unquote Christians, their view is that it is a not a human army, but it is a army of Malak or angels, but it is not the army of people. And so they tend to give all of these descriptions and they give all this stuff. But I want to show you that it is truly an army. And this army, as we look at it, once again, I want you to look at it when it says that the army is 200, make sure that didn't come in. 200 million alone. Now, someone would say, that's a lot of people. How can you actually determine that? And then I want to show you something too. I want to show you, you cannot always trust what you see. Now we're going to look at a little bit of military code. And I learned this from my Ish when he was in the military. There are certain ways that you salute. There are certain ways that you hold your hand up. The reason for that, the one they hold back this way. I mean, I'm not a saluter. Yeah, this is when you salute like this. Then you have it down like that. And then you have those that have it open. Many militaries have 3 branches. America has 4. Air Force, Army, Navy, Marine. We have 4. Others have 3. Air Force, Navy, and Marines, right? Or Army, Navy, and Marines. Yeah, Army, Navy, and Marines. It just depends. Yeah, Army, Navy plus Marines. Now, you have to understand where I'm coming from. Now, India is the most populated place for Muslims because India is primarily Islamic. They're Muslims. Now, I want to show you how the military salutes. Now, once again, they give a description on how and why each one is done in the manner it is. Why? To prove a point and to show for those that will come and say, well, we can't really know that. You don't know how many they have because you think they're going to tell you. And then we're going to look at demographics. We're going to see how many Muslims there are. We're gonna show that. I want to show you that it is a great probability, and I believe with all my heart that there are 200 million. Why? Because let's look at numbers. Now you know you can't take that out of 100,000, but let's see how many you can take that out of. Can you take it out of a billion? All right. Do you have that for me? All right, while he's getting that for me, while Elder's getting that, once again, we're going to look at numbers. But first, we're going to look at the saluting and understanding that they're not going to show you and tell you everything. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that's important for us to look at. Why is it important for us to look at? Because if you're not going to tell me everything that's going on in your your branch, you're sure not going to tell me if you have that many people. You're not going to tell me if you got that many people. Why? Because of your saluting gestures. Once again, there's 3 ways they salute. So we want to look at that. Is there any way we can? You found it? If you can't find it, then I can try to get it on. Is that the one you looked at earlier? Yes. Okay. All right. Let's see. Can you turn it for me? Can you bring that and turn? Now this might be. All right. Turn this. Now for those of you that are following on YouTube, you might not be able to. Let's see if we can get it. Can you make it bigger? Okay. Okay. All right. Now, let's look at this. I'm going to read it and I'm going to show you. Let's see if we can get everybody in here. I know this may be a little unorthodox, but until I can get some other stuff, let's turn it. Now, let's look at this, y'all. And the reason I'm saying this because, once again, the smoke is unquestionably the symbol of war. This is that the smoke is unquestionably the symbol of war. This is the battle that was to come and is the biggest in history. Now, the Islamist army is 200 million alone, but we don't give the number of that for Yasharal or Yahuwah's army. Now, I want to show you something because I read something earlier in my time of researching where many were saying, once again, that the 200 million was not a real people, but that this was, something that was the either an analogy or it was angels. It was not a people. But I want to show you armies, and I want to show you the ones that are Islamic by nature. India, or the Indian army, which they are Muslim, open palm facing the person in front. In India army, a salute is executed by an open palm gesture with the weapon hand. Now this is army. This is army with fingers and thumbs together and the middle finger almost touching the headband or the eyebrow. It not only establishes trust among the personnel, but also proves that the person saluting has no bad intentions and no weapons hidden up anywhere. No weapons. Okay. Now, once again, let's see if we can kind of make that just a little bigger for our people. All right. Number 2, Navy. The Indian Navy, open palm facing the ground. That means open palm, but it's facing the ground. So it would be like this, right? Oh, like this. So that means it would be like this. Can y'all see me? All right. Like this. It will be like this with your palm open, but it's facing the ground. Okay.
Come on.
Open. You gotta make it bigger. Okay, that's fine. All right. Now you can barely see them, but I'm gonna read it. In Indian Navy, a salute is executed with the palm facing the ground at a 90-degree angle to the forehead. Basically, the reason behind this is to hide the hands of sailors that get dirty due to oil or grease stains while working on the ship. All right, let's go to number 3. Indian Air Force, open palm at a 45-degree angle to the ground. In March 2006, Indian Air Force issued new salute norms to its personnel. 2006. Now, as I was reading in the book that I read in and giving you the information that I've been getting, he wrote this book in 2004 and he made a statement. He said by maybe 15 or 20 years, that the Islamic or the Muslims would be in a power position economically, and basically they would be in power. Now, with that being said, it is important that we understand 2 years later, after this was spoken of, we have what they have a new norm, a saluting norm to its personnel. Now, this new salute involves the palm at a 40-degree angle to the ground and the right hand or the right arm being sharply raised from the front by the shortest possible way. It is a midway between the Army and Navy salute and was standard to make it more convenient for the AF earlier. AF hand salute was just like the Army one. All right, let's go down. Okay, but I wanted the other one. No. The one I wanted where it tells, and also the one where it talked about, we talked about it earlier, the one I told you that I wanted, where it talks about, it gives a salute, but it shows, in other words, I need the one that's off the books, that does not give you this, where even the one where they brought it in, where they were saying the new salute says victory, says Jah, and it shows that. You don't have it. Okay, if you don't have it, no, it's on. Okay, turn it. All right. The one that I wanted to show you is the one where it talks about it, yo. It is important that you understand anytime someone salutes and their hand is kind of gestured down, it is because they are trying to hide or trying to keep you from knowing certain things. When it is open, as they said before, that's saying we have nothing to hide. But you must understand in this time and in this season, there's a lot going on that is not going to be shared and shown. Now, with that being said, once again, this was what was brought out, and they have a new term from 2006. They started saying in there when they salute Jah. Yeah, and it means victory. So now they incorporated this. Why? Because I believe, and this is just my personal belief, this is why they did, or they're doing this, because they understand the time, and their whole thing is that we are going to come in with victory no matter what. Are y'all following me? That's important. All right. And so I wanted to show you that with that. Now, Revelations 9:3. Let's go to Revelations 9:3.
And do some.
All right. Let's read that, please.
Revelations chapter 9, verse 3. And out of the smoke, locusts came down upon the earth, and were given power like that of scorpions of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so. Revelations 9:3. And there came out of the smoke locusts, and Ibram is Arbeh upon the earth. And unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. As the scorpions of the earth have power. When we were growing up in Christianity, we always were made to believe that these scorpions were going to be little scorpions, and they were going to come up and that they were going to sting you and you're going to want to die, but you couldn't die because they were going to have this power. But it says this description is once again, and there came out of the smoke locusts, and in the Hebrew it means abe, upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. Now, you know, if you know anything about a scorpion is deadly poisonous. They're stinger. They sting you. Sometime, depending on how old they are and how much poison gets in you, it can kill you instantly, or it can make you really sick. So they're very poisonous, but this is giving them this. When Shaitan is released, then it is war with the saints and the world. Signs are given before this happens. The sign of locust and the Ibram play on words, Arabat, meaning locust, and the character of the locust, that is desert roaming. The word for Arab is used in the verse and is the Hebrew word Arabi for the Arabians. This is a play on words to mean the Arabs, Araba or Araba. On the other hand, in Ibram also means the number 4. So here the only thing that can correspond to that number is the geographic nature of the beast, such as in Revelations 13:2. The end time beast is a geocomposite of the leopard, the Grecian, bear, Persian, lion, Babylon, and of course the eastern leg of the Roman Empire. Araba also signifies the global influence of the end time beast, covering the 4 corners of the globe. So y'all understand? All right. Also, the Arabian desert is teeming with locusts because of its favorable climate. This is a befitting imagery. Here we can see a drash of these passages. As well as locusts, the Arabian climate also sustains scorpions, and is interesting that the zoology depicts in Revelation 9 fits both the Arabs and the Arab climate perfectly. Because you can't dismiss that, now can you?
No.
It, once again, credible witnesses, evidence, and proof always makes a good foundation and case for presenting your information.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Let's see. Okay. Islam also does not permit, listen at this. Now, this might seem kind of off, but it goes with this. Islam also does not permit the destruction of trees or green things. The locust will not be allowed to hurt the grass or green things. Let's look at Revelations chapter 9 and 4.
And it is so.
All right, let's read.
And it is so. They were told not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green plant, or any tree, but only people who do not have power sealed on their foreheads.
Now that means they've been given the authority to tear people up that don't have the seal of Abba Yahuwah. Now, once again, let's look at this. Also, the desert is teeming with locusts. Oh, wait, no, not that. I'm sorry. Islam also does not permit the destruction of trees or green things. The locust will not be allowed to hurt grass or green things. Revelations 9 and 4. The Saracen, I think that's Saracen, Muslim, first beast, 7th head. The Ottoman armies were under orders that matched this verse exactly. They were told not to harm the trees or the greenery. None of that. When Yazid was marching with his army to invade Syria, Abu Bakr, the first Muslim caliph after Muhammad, charged him with this among other orders: destroy no palm trees, nor burn any fields of corn, cut down no fruit trees, nor do any mischief to cattle, only such as you kill to eat. In other words, isn't that amazing how they give them a description of what to destroy and what not to destroy? Just kill it all. It don't matter. But they gave them, once again, because you got to understand, the war was not against these things, it's against the people. Because if you destroy that, you have nothing. When you're fighting people over land, you're fighting them just that, for the land. If you destroy the land, then what happens? Your fight becomes in vain, right? So he gives them on how to do these things. All right, now, the locusts will attack. Watch this. The locusts will attack. And once again, the locusts are who?
The Islamic people.
The Islamic people, exactly. The Arabs, the Islamic people. Now watch this. The locusts will attack idolatrous Christians who do not have the seal or Yahuwah on their forehead and who dishonor the commandments, the Torah. This also applies to all those who do not have the mark or seal of the true name of Yahuwah on their hearts and in their minds, to protect them from radical Islam in the time of Yaakov's trouble. So y'all, are you understanding these things? Grab him the tea, please, for his head, so he's not sitting over there hurting, please. And so this is a description, y'all. This is the description of what is to be. Now, once again, when you hear me say Christianity, why am I saying Christianity? Because that's where our people are. They disregard the Torah. They talk ill about the Torah, and they just fragrantly, what's that word? Not fragrantly. I'm looking for is that it? Fragrantly, like it's what is the Flagrant, yeah. They disregard it and they speak ill of it and they say it doesn't exist. They say it doesn't, it's not powerful. It's not important. Y'all, this is what's going to get many of them in trouble and keep them in trouble because they're disregarding the commandment. They're disregarding the multi-system that Abba Yahuwah has given unto us to live by, the code of conduct. This is what they've done and this is what they continue to do. Are y'all hearing me? And so it is important and imperative that we understand the time we're in and that we understand what's taking place and everything that's going on as much as possible behind the scenes. And so forth. And so this is what is taking place once again. And this is during the time of what? Yaakov's trouble. And what time does it look like and feel like we're going into? What? Into Yaakov's troubles. Inflation. And then you have shrinkflation. If y'all go to the store and you buy and you're seeing that the stuff that you used to get at one price, unless you just go and pay for your food and don't check your prices, is way more expensive. Gas, not only that, but even medical things, y'all, things that we would normally go in and buy, it's very difficult now because of the price. The Dollar Tree is not the Dollar Tree anymore. It's $1.25. Right. But you got to understand why, because it takes 5 quarters to make $1. It takes 5 quarters to make $1. When we were growing up, we would hear our family talk about penny candy. And they would talk about it for a long time. You go get a bag of candy for a penny. You start thinking, well, if it's a penny, how do you take out of a penny? It's just 1 cent. But you got to understand the way they did things back in that time versus now is totally different. Right. Now, and I remember when we go to the store and buy chips for a dime, and you could, with 25 cents, you could walk out of the store with 3 items. And someone said, well, you must be really old. No, I'm not really old. I think I'll be Yahuwah for my age, but you have to understand times and how inflation affects generations, and it continues to do that. We went from 25 cent, from 10 and 5 cent candy to 25 to 30. Now it's $1. Yeah. Excuse me. The stuff that you buy now is $1. You used to buy, anybody know about lemon heads, a little box of lemon heads? You used to get those lemon heads for 10 cents. 10 cents. The box was this big for 10 cents. Now go try to buy them things. Them things about 25, 50 cents. And you start thinking, now, y'all, this is where it comes in where we talk about inflation, and we're at an all-time high. I constantly suggest and encourage people to please go and download, or not download, we'll get the clock. What is it? The clock for thank you. The US debt clock. Go get that and look at it. Y'all, we are 30 trillion, I believe, 30 trillion in debt. 30 trillion plus in debt. We were looking at it, y'all. It's very little sections of green. Everything else is red. This is going to cause a major collapse. We're already in it. It's just a matter of time when everything just falls apart. And where do you want to be when it falls apart? Number one, I definitely am going to be in the in Yahuwah's will, and in Yahuwah's heart, and in the will of Yahuwah, because Yahuwah is giving us and showing us how we can live according to the will of Abba Yahuwah. So if we're in the heart of Yahuwah, then we can fulfill the mandate and the prerequisites that Abba Yahuwah has given us, because he's the only one that was able to live and not fall in default. He was the only one that was able to do it perfectly and give us the example. This is the issue that a lot of our people fall into. We are not commanded to worship Yahuwah, and we do not worship him. But we look at his example and we live according to that example, because that's the only perfect example we have on how to live and get in the place or in the heart of Yahuwah by that way. That's the only way. Are y'all following me? That's the only way. So it's important that we don't throw away the only perfect example that we have, because somebody reads a couple of verses out of context and now they want to say he's an idol. Right. Y'all, please, let's go up and let's truly have the ruach of Abba Yahuwah and learn what is idol versus what is truth. That's important. All right, now let's look at a few more verses. Now, historically, the Saracens, I think the Saracens, historically the Saracens Arab Muslims, referred to as Saracen by the Europeans, work mainly in those countries where corruption of Christianity prevail. That is the Greek Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches. Verses 7 and 9 describe the what do you say, Saracens? Saracens, thank you, sir. Saracens outfit. They were renowned for the horsemanship. These are the ones who are going to bring trouble to the earth and make war. They are the ones who are gathering the Muslim nations. This is the Saudi Arabian style of Islam that is intolerant of any other belief on the face of this planet. The start was with the Arabs, then the Ottomans, and ends up with the rest of the Islamic world ready for war once again. As early as 766 AD, a Christian clergyman writing in Syriac spoke of the locust swarm of unconverted barbarians, Sindis, Alans, Khazars, and others who served in the caliph's army. And by the 9th century, slave locust armies appeared all over the Islamic Empire. Bernard Lewis, Race and Slavery in the Middle East, Oxford University Press, 1994. You know, I got to have that. Revelations 9, 7 and 9. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. And on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, wearing turbans. And their faces were as the face of men, are men. And they had hair as the hair of women. And their teeth were as the teeth of lions, fierce teeth. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, description of tanks. And the sound of their wings, sound of engines, was as the sound of chariots, of many horses running to battle, description of warplanes. Here the locusts are described exactly like the Ottoman army. The Ottomans had long hair, golden turbans, fierce teeth, and even their horses were wearing armor of black breastplates. And this essentially is describes the rise of Islam. It describes the rise of Islam. Are y'all hearing me? All right, I'm gonna read a few of these, and then we're going to be ready to pray. Symbols of the Ottoman Empire: hair of men. These are the men with long hair. Faces of men. Description of battle-ready men. Y'all remember what is it? It was a movie with what that man name? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. Extraordinary Gentlemen, I think that's what it's called. League of Extraordinary. Y'all remember the Muslim that was in it that had the tanker ship?
Yeah.
How long was his hair? How did he look? Y'all remember he had long hair and he was very stern. He had that sword and he was bad with that sword. Nemo? What'd you say his name was? Captain Nemo. Okay. Nemo. But do y'all remember his description? His face, his hair, and how he carried himself, and he was proud, and he had, wasn't that his tanker? It was an armored tanker ship, but it was a submarine. Y'all remember that? Y'all see, people sometimes allude and do little things, and if you don't catch it, these are some of the things they allude to and bring out. Now, with that being said, y'all, that's what, look at that. I'm not saying that's what they look like, but I'm just saying, look at that. It's kind of like a description that kind of looks like it. Because he had the turban. Y'all saw the turban on his head. And if you notice, he had on white and gold.
Yeah.
He had on white and gold. So y'all, we've been given yes, he had on white and gold. He had that turban. He had a white and gold turban on his head. Okay. Faces of men. Description of battle-ready men. Teeth of lions. Very fierce fighters. Breastplates. Description of tanks. Modern warfare. Sound of wings. Engine noises. Sounds of chariots. Warplanes, choppers, helicopter, gunships. Now, back then, they gave that description, but that's what it sounds like. When you hear a warship or you hear a helicopter, that sounds like what? Sounds like wings. Sounds like wings or something. You ever heard big birds when we be sitting there, when we at home, and you hear, and sometimes they get a little closer and you hear the wings. This is a description, y'all, of it. And so we have to be prepared and not stick our heads in the sand and say, well, that's not the description we got before. Yeah, but this is a description that helps us to better understand, and we have the writings to back it up. 100%.
God.
All right. Revelations 9 and 10. 9 and 10. And then we're going to read Joel 2 and 10. All right.
Revelations 9 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And they had tails with stingers like scorpions, so that they were tails that they had the power to harm people for 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
And this song.
Now, once again, when we were in Christianity, we were made to believe that these were real scorpions and they were going to be flying around, y'all, and that they were going to be this big and they were going to sting men, and you're going to want to die, but you can't die. That was the only description Christianity could give. Why? You're not going to be able to interpret it from its original perspective because you're not following the Ibram way. So what other way to make people believe that there's going to be these scorpions with wings flying around with faces of men stinging people? See, I mean, it's funny now, but in that time we were scared to death because we're thinking, can we kill them? What can we do to them? These are going to be small things, and you start thinking in your mind, well, if they sting us, are they going to leave a big sting? Y'all, once again, Christianity could not interpret it because they didn't have all the ingredients. They can only interpret from their understanding, because remember, they hijacked the truth and modified it and gave it for their own description, or gave it for their own purposes. So that's one of the things you have to recognize and be careful of. Once again, let's look at that again. Revelations 9 and 10. Read that again for me.
And they had tails with stingers like scorpions, so that with their tails they had the power to harm people for 5 months.
To hurt man for 5 months. Fighter planes carry missiles with stings, payload, and the tails of the missiles. This Islamic army from the east is ready for war and coming for battle. 5 months, y'all. You normally, when people go into battle, sometimes they fight for what? Months and years. That hurts people. Who wants to be in war and you losing family? Yes, that will make you want to die, but you can't die. Are you following me? And people say, well, they can't die. Most of the time they couldn't die because they don't have no way to die. It's not because they're getting stung and you got to stay alive. It is because they're going to want to die but can't die. In other words, it's nothing supernatural. Let's not take what is natural and try to spiritualize it, and let's not take what is spiritual and try to naturalize it. Let's not do that. But this is what happens, and it says now they're ready and they're coming for battle. Once again, these are men that don't smile. These are men that are ready to kill and ready to die. That's the description. All right, let's look at Yoel 2 and 10.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let's read.
2 and 10 reads. 2 and 10 reads, the earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And
it is so. Now listen to this. This only happens when lots of bullets, missiles, and bombs are fired. Could this be the time of Armageddon? Most definitely, the language leaves us in no doubt. It is the same language used in Yahuwah 24 and 29. Remember, smoke was a symbolic of war. It was symbolic of war. That's just what it was, a symbolic of war. Now let's look at what it says. I'm going to read it again. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Now, repeat it once again by Yahuwah in Yahuwah 24 and 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from Shemayim and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. In Revelation, we also see these verses that fit. So it's important that we understand, once again, I'm going to read Revelations 9 and 2. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Most of the time we get to that part, and the sun and the air were darkened. But we don't hear the part because of the smoke of the pit. We don't hear that part. We just hear that part. But there's a reason why, because of war. Because of war. This speaks once again in the same language as Ezekiel 38. Heavenly signs accompany the day of the master's return. So we see this throughout scripture, these things that are going to take place. And once again, they're given the ability to do the stuff they're going to do. Why? Because our people are not doing and not in place. Are y'all hearing me? And I'm like this. If this doesn't provoke you to be right and do right, I don't know what else will. Because I don't know about you. I do not want to be in a situation once again to where I could truly be spared and saved by Abba Yahuwah because I'm living right and I'm doing right. But I choose to do my own thing. Y'all, this is not time for playing. A lot of the things we see are a distraction, and it's going to continue to be a distraction if we let it be a distraction. But if we know what he's given us to do and to prepare ourselves and to make sure we are ready, then we need to do that. Number one, I will say this. It is time that if we never sought him before, to seek him for the times that we're supposed to be keeping the feast, for the times that we're supposed to be keeping the Sabbath right. Y'all, there is a right way. And you don't have to go all around the world and back. If we would just read the scripture and then ask for the Ruach HaKodesh to interpret it for us and follow it, we will know. I'm telling you what I know from experience. When you are hungry and thirsty after truth, you will find it, and it will not be hard to find. But because we want things our way, we want to have more time to do the stuff we want to do. So therefore, we start modifying and doing things we're not supposed to do. We start taking a feast and doing them any kind of way. And we follow just like the European ones do. How are we different if we're doing it the same way they doing it? How can they be wrong, but we follow the feast the same days they do? So if they're wrong, that makes us what? Wrong. Makes us wrong too. That means there has to be a distinction and there has to be a separation. The new day begins when? When the sun rises. That's when the new day begins. So the Sabbath begins when? When on the Sabbath day begins sunrise, and it ends the next day, first day, sunrise. That's how come it becomes the first day. Right. So there, it gives us a description on when and how to do these things. When does the feast begin? It begins in the spring. When does the spring come? When the equinox changes, which is, we do have a scientific time, and we have a time where they've researched and shown where the sun moves throughout the constellations and changes the atmosphere. And there are 3 days in the month, March 19th, 20th, or the 21st. Every year without fail, these 3 days show us the equinox. So from there, you start counting 14 days to make sure that you keep the feast on the right day. You keep the Passover on the right time, and you keep unleavened bread. Y'all, but we've become so lazy, and we just follow what everybody do because we feel like, well, they got to be right because everybody is doing it. It does not make them right. Remember, there's only going to be a remnant, and I will be a part of that remnant. Because I'm not trying to skimp on the time. I'm not trying to steal time from Abba Yahuwah. From the sunrise on the Sabbath, that's when the Sabbath begins. And sunrise, the first day, that's when the Sabbath ends. When do the feasts begin? It begins in spring. We are not in spring, until it changes, till the equinox changes. And when the equinox changes, that is when the season changes. You may not see nothing that substantiates that, but that's how you know. And that's how you can explain that it is time for a change. Yo, we got to get these things together. And when we get these things together, we will begin to see the presence of the hand of Abba Yahuwah on our lives, because we're making a conscious decision to do everything that he's told us to do. Why? Because it's not just because we're trying to escape war, but because we want to be found perfect, and we want to be found doing what he's called us to do. And not being hard-headed. So I don't know about you, once again, giving you that information and showing you how, and check it out. You check it out, you will see. Because scripture does not lie.
Con.
And so I pray that what you have learned thus far, that you will take it, pray over it, and that you will continue once again to seek the heart of Abba Yahuwah, to know these things and to find yourself preparing yourself for these things, y'all, because Yaakov's troubles are on the verge. We are on the verge of Yaakov's troubles. We're on the verge of it. They tell you all this stuff, but then when you want to hear stuff, you can't go straight to the media. Russia had already, before they went into war, they had already their place. They had already, oh my goodness, no, not martial law. They had already, their economy had already collapsed. Their economy had collapsed. So Russia went in fighting with no money, but with what they already had. Then you got to understand, this is a war. We got wars and rumors of war, but this is not World War III, y'all. This is a war between two countries. And you got to understand, it is just that, just a war. It's about boundaries and maintaining your position and telling people don't come across us and don't put nobody else that's one is not an ally to us on your border, because that puts them too close to us. Strategic. It's a battle of strategy and keeping people off the line so that they won't be too close. So in the event they want to attack, they right there at the back door. Right there at the back door. So there's a lot of things, once again, that's going on, but we as a people must be knowledgeable of these things, and we must pray, and we must surrender our hearts to Abba Yahuwah, so that we will find ourselves not on the outside, but on the inside, being covered and being taken care of. So I pray once again that I've helped you to understand the times we're in, and I pray that Abba Yahuwah will continue to baruch you and continue to minister to your heart in this time of Sabbath rest. Once again, y'all, don't take for granted this time of rest. Rest. Take all of it. Don't cut Abba Yahuwah and don't steal his time. Don't do it. It's a whole day. Take that whole day to the next day, the first day. The beginning of the week constitutes, or that Sunday, which they call Sunday, we call the first day, is when the sun comes up. That begins your whole new day. That's when the Sabbath rest is up, when a whole new day begins. And so it's important that we understand that. So once again, I pray once again that I've said something to encourage you and to provoke you to go and research even the more about this. Now, don't go and research the opposite, because if you research the opposite, there's a possibility that you can find something that you're looking for. And if you're looking for something to continue to substantiate you in your error, guess what? You will find it. You will find it. But if you're truly looking for that way to know truth and to truly please Abba Yahuwah with all that's in you, and please him and ahab him with all of your heart, mind, soul, and being, then you will look at doing these things as he has called us to do so. Well, once again, I pray that Abba Yahuwah will keep you during this time of rest, and that he will continue to baruch you, and that he will continue to keep you in this hour and this season of trouble, and above all, that you will love him with all of your heart and with all your being, with all your soul. Continue to pray for Yahshua, and continue to pray that we be of one accord, and during these troubled times that we will come together and not be scattered the more. Once again, I pray these things in the mighty name of Yahushua Mashiach, and it is so.
And it is so.
Remember, I am Aliyah Yashua, and I'm the Mora of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, a Bread Belief congregation located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, a Bread Belief congregation, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch atah and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. Also, I want you to remember, the push, the fight, and the move is on. Work smarter, not harder. Also, you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.